Which type on the Myers Briggs should I go for? Can be a difficult question, but when we look at Google, it doesn't look like a difficult one to answer because there are lots of answers out there. They will tell you exactly this type is for you, this type is definitely not for you. You should go for this type if you are this type of person. And I would tell you it's not true in all cases. It's true in most cases because according to statistics, more people who are from this type works out with people from this type. But it's definitely not true in all cases. And in fact, you might listen to that and you will realize that it doesn't work out for you. You go for that type and it's a huge failure. Okay, means you should go for another type. It's another type exactly for you, but it's not what they say. Okay, it happened to me. So let's go through 5 steps. 5 steps to finding the right type exactly for you. Okay, number one. Number one is to realize that you have a dark side in you. Okay, there's one living in you. Some people think, no, I'm perfect and I just need to find the perfect person for me. Well, it doesn't work like that. You have a dark side, and that person is going to have to deal with this dark side within you. And if you have a dark side that you're not working on, I have bad news for you that that person is not going to want to deal with you. Or maybe he will, or maybe she will, but it's going to be hell for them. And the relationship is not going to be at its best, and you may be going to think, oh, the Myers Briggs was wrong. But the Myers Briggs wasn't wrong. You guys are good for each other, but you haven't worked on yourself. Okay. So you need to realize there's a dark side in you, and you need to know what it is. You need to be able to identify it so that you can work on it. Okay, that's step number one. Step number two, realize that your partner has a dark side too. All right, so first we don't find the right person, we try to be the right person. Okay, and then we need to find the right person, but the right person also has a dark side. You won't find Mr. Perfect, you won't find Mrs. Perfect. Okay, so we all have a dark side, and you need to know that you have to accept that dark side. Okay, we need to accept the dark side in ourselves, and we need to accept the dark side in the other person as well. Now, what does it mean to accept the dark side? That doesn't mean that you say to your other half, this is who I am. I'm going to stay this way. And if you can't accept me, then you need to go. Because once you say that, you are not a mature type. Yes, I said it. Okay. There are mature types and immature types. A mature type of INFJ, immature type of INFJ, and a mature type of INTJ, immature type of INTJ. And you want to be a mature type. How do you become it? Through working on your dark side, through struggling through it, through doing shadow work, incorporating your shadow. Okay, incorporating the parts that you repress, and by doing so, you become a mature type, a type that people actually want to live with, and a type that they can actually deal with when your dark side is coming out, because it won't come out in a bad way. You will have it under control. You will tell them, sorry, it's coming out. I'm sorry about it, working on it. Okay. So then they will deal with it because they know you are honest and you are authentic. Okay. So we need to look at the dark side in another person and yourself. All right. Then you need to know that the dark side that you choose in another person, you will have to be able to deal with. And they will also have to work on it. But that doesn't mean that you need to step into a marriage and say, you know what, I expect of you to grow consistently. So in 2 years from now, you will be here on the maturity scale. 2 years from that, you will be there on the maturity scale. It doesn't work like that. Shadow work takes a lot of time. And the thing is, most people don't change. So expect change in yourself But in another person, it's detrimental if you tell yourself, well, I expect it to of that person and it doesn't happen. So firstly, go for the mature type. Okay. You need to go for the mature type from the start. Don't expect him to be immature and to become mature. Okay. Same with a girl. Go for a woman. Don't expect her to become mature. Okay. Usually people do that and then they are let down terribly because it doesn't happen. People don't change usually. But we can change. We can make ourselves a better person. All right. So go for the mature type, but here's another one as well to take into account. No one is on the end scale of maturity. There will always be something to work on. So you can't say, yes, isn't that issue? He still needs to mature. I'm not going to go for him. Okay. Just make sure he's not like on that side of the scale, totally on the opposite, which is on 0 or on 2, that is not very immature. Make sure he's like on that side, or the same with a woman. Make sure she is on the side of maturity. She won't be totally mature, but that side. Okay. And it's a dark side you can deal with. Some people can't deal with certain dark sides, and other people can deal with the dark side that person can't deal with. Right. So we need to find the dark side you can deal with. All right. Number 3. Point number 3. You need to be doing shadow work. Okay. I've already mentioned some of this, but you need to be working on yourself. If you don't work on yourself, people won't be able to live with you. Okay. So that is step number 3. Jung speaks a lot about shadow work. So if you want to know about shadow work, he explains that a lot. So it's called Jung, and you can listen to my future videos. I plan on talking about shadow work and how to do shadow work in a proper way. Shadow work is incorporating the parts of yourself that you are repressing. Okay. So you might be repressing anger. That means you don't know that you are angry and you never get angry. But when you incorporate anger into your life, healthy anger, then you become whole and balanced. Okay, that's just an example, but more on that for a later day. Okay, and number 4, you can find the type that works best for you on the Myers Briggs. Okay, so there are 16 types of people on the Myers Briggs. You can go study them. Okay, and you can look at their dark sides and their light sides. There are many people speaking about this as well. You can go Google it. You can go see people telling you this is the dark side of an ESFP, this is the dark side of an INFJ, and the list goes on. You can go look at that and see which dark side you can deal with. Okay, you're gonna have to choose something. If you can't choose anything, there's a problem. You have to choose something. You have to say, you know what, this one is okay. I think I might be able to deal with this one and I will put up with this one. Okay. But you need to find the mature type because otherwise you won't be able to deal with any dark side. No one can deal with a dark side that is totally in the immature side of the scale. We can't do that. Okay. But we need to deal with something. All right. So you find that one. There are lots of people speaking about this topic and telling you the dark side of a typical INFJ is this and this and this, and the dark side of a typical ENFP is this and this and this. Go find your match. Okay. But there are some problems. There are some problems that we have to look at that can happen, like too many types to study. It's not your passion. And you can't study all types. It's too difficult to understand all these types. And how do you spot them after you've studied them? Like, it will take a long time. And to find the right type for you is one thing, but to actually find it in reality and a person that will like you back, that's from that specific type. Yes, there are too many people to study. So what I would recommend is study, know which type you shouldn't go for. This is like a big no. Okay, so you know if a guy goes for you or a girl goes for you, or you go for a girl, and you realize that, okay, that type, that person is from that type, the type that I keep going for, the type that I shouldn't go for. Okay, step back. I'm not going for that person because I know it's a pitfall. I am attracted to that person, to that type, but I shouldn't go for that type. Okay, so move away, right? Then you go for someone, anyone else. Look at that person. Start dating the person, maybe. Okay? Look at the person's dark side. Look at the person's light side. Maybe go look at the Myers Briggs. Maybe ask that person what type that person is on the Myers Briggs. If they don't know, maybe ask them to do a test. That might be awkward. See if you can. All right. But to get a more or less idea of what that person is without having that person do a test is by looking at 4 questions. Is that person more an extrovert or more an introvert? So there you have the first letter of Myers-Briggs, an E or an I. Is that person more a sensing person or a feeling person? Then you have the second one. Okay. Is that person more a thinking person or a feeling person? And last one, is that person more a feeling person or a perceiving person or a judging person? There you have the 4 letters. If you can answer that, you have an idea. You can be wrong. That's the thing. Okay. So you need to make very sure. But you can look at those 4 types, go look on Google, see if that fits the person, and see if you can handle that dark side. Okay. Because yeah, there's too many types, and maybe you will never find the specific type that you hoped to find. It just, that type, just, you don't get it. So look at that person, see if you can deal with that person's dark side. Um, so it's good to choose more than one type that you are likely to go for. Okay, so it's good to choose about 4 or 5 or so. See, these type of people I would go for, but I would want to see if it works with me and that person when I get to that person. Okay. Then people differ. That's the other problem. So you might tell yourself, I would love to go for an INFJ or I would love to go for an ISFP. Okay. But now you get different types of ISFPs, different types of INFJs, and it doesn't work with that INFJ. Now you think it won't work with any type of INFJ, then it's like, okay, but it might work with another INFJ who aren't that type. Okay, so it gets very complex. That's why I would say meet the person in reality, see how that person is. What makes that person different than his type? Because there might be some characteristics that they say is typical for an INFJ, but that INFJ doesn't have that characteristic. Okay, might have be a mixture that makes it also much more complex and difficult to decide. And last point, you might not know which type you would actually love being with. You might read a type and you're like, no, no, that's definitely not a type I would go for. But in reality, it is actually a type you would love to be with and it will actually work out. So there are many problems to look at. Be mindful. These things aren't set in stone. There isn't a recipe out there that says if you follow this recipe, it will always work for you. Be mindful when you look at these things. A lot of people like to post things that says in all cases, and people like watching those videos because it's easy and simple. But it's not that easy and simple always. Okay, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. We need to be mindful, look at these things. Don't just believe everything and take everything as a, oh, it works so in all cases. And yeah, then enjoy yourself. It's the last advice I have. Enjoy, these things are very fun. I love studying these things and looking at how people might be and how they are different from one another, and it just makes you understand them more, and understand your partner, because you might be with a partner you don't like being with because of their dark side, but once you study their dark side, you might like them much more, and the relationship will be much better. Now, there we go. That's all for today, and have a nice day. Bye, everyone.